thinking about. And we have had people asking about safety, I think just probably as an offshoot of kind of nationwide and extremely widespread spikes in crime in a lot of places, probably, and certainly I would imagine here, connected with the fact that just a lot of people have been out of work for so long. And we are a service town, and so it definitely seems like that would be a driving force there. So in terms of that, though, I mean, really like the advice that I would offer about New Orleans is pretty consistent across the board, and it is the same kinds of wisdom that you'd apply in a lot of other cities. But I think the kind of implicit question with it in New Orleans is people tend to be thinking New Orleans is a place to cut loose. So the question is like, how loose can I cut? And the answer really depends on where you're going to be. It's slightly different if you're going to be spending all of your time in and around the French Quarter in the main touristic drag, or if you're going to be like getting an Airbnb and staying in some other part of town entirely, because doing your research is just two different questions in that case. But either way, what I would start with is coming to town, getting your bearings in the place where you're going to be, talking to people who regularly spend time there. So desk staff, if it's your hotel, neighbors, if you're staying at a house, your host, if it's an Airbnb type situation, and just getting a feel for the routes that you should be taking. Because especially if you're in or near the French Quarter, populous routes are available, but it's not going to be every single possible way you might want to go from one spot to another. So like, can you get from the business district to Frenchman Street safely? Absolutely. But not if you just kind of wander in the general direction necessarily. So I would always scope that out first thing and get a sense for during your first day, you know, where are the people? Where are the crowds? Where is the light? And follow those things. And honestly, I would go a night without drinking. If you're going to be staying long enough, I would do a whole first night completely sober and just get the lay of the land during that first time there, because really that tends to be where a lot of the problem comes in, is that folks both display that they are off their guard and they display that they are tourists. And the combination of those two things is what can be dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I'm talking about like petty theft type stuff.
Yeah.
When you look at crime in the French Quarter, it is on the whole a lower number on average compared to how many people are in the neighborhood versus the rest of the city. And when it does happen, petty theft is often kind of close to the ceiling of it. It's a lot of like noise stuff, and it's a lot of like car related stuff. You just want to make sure that you're keeping your stuff close at hand and that you are less visibly drunk than the people near you.
That's right. Yeah, I think keeping your wits about you is actually really important. And if you have decided that it's your bachelorette weekend and you're going to cut absolutely loose, make sure you have some good friends with you who will be keeping their wits about them and who will take care of you. You know, I think most of the things that can happen are when you break away from your group, or when you know, are by yourself. That can be obviously a more difficult situation. But yeah, definitely staying in populous areas, being aware of where you park, where you leave your car is pretty important. You know, parking in the French Quarter is expensive. We know it. I work here every day, and I pay so much in parking. I hate it. But it's worth it because I'm parking in a lot where there's a lot of people coming and going, you know, and there's just like more security. Then there's an idea that it's safer. Is it completely safe? You know, it's as safe as it can be.
And I mentioned the idea of scoping out what, you know, are there people around? Is there good lighting? You know, all that stuff. If there's not, then it's just worth planning from the beginning that you are going to get rides to and from. You know, if you're staying a little ways out and you don't have a public transit route that takes you from like well-lit spot A to well-lit spot B, just factor that into your budget and your planning that you should get car rides.
Yeah. The Uber and Lyft prices have gone back down to pre-pandemic levels. They're now much more reasonable in the city. They'll go up for festivals and things, as they always do, but Uber and Lyft are a great way to get around the city.
I also would say, like, on the occasion violent crime happens in the Quarter. It is relatively rare, though it tends to get amplified because it is such a high-profile area, but it tends to be on Bourbon Street, and it tends to be late at night. So I think being done by, like, before 4 a.m., reasonable and you know, safety-inducing.
Yeah, totally.
So those are a few thoughts that I would have on that subject. But just like I think just to a lot of people who are new to it, the thing I would put on that it isn't like other cities, the French Quarter feels dangerous, but that's part of the French Quarter's brand. It is less dangerous than it feels, but you also should go through a full day, having your wits about you, scope it all out, have a designated sober person with you, and just do all the basic safety stuff that you would do in another
Be aware
city.
of yourself and your surroundings at all times, and you'll be okay.
And I guess the last thing I would throw in on that is like, if you end up walking in like relatively quiet places where there's not a whole lot of other people around, it's worth knowing how not to look like a tourist. And so if you kind of look ahead and know where you're going, talk on the phone with somebody, and don't wear Mardi Gras beads or a fanny pack, then you're likely in better shape. So that's
helps.
A few ideas.
Yeah. And if they ask you, if they say they know where you got your shoes at, you tell them you got your shoes on your feet and you keep walking.
And
it's just a fact.